So we join back in with our adventurers after the end of part one. They had managed to finish off all the things that they were doing. However, Volu had begun to notice something strange going on with his magic. And as the group were heading to the temple, he was becoming more drained and drained until eventually he passed out on the back of Dante as they moved towards the temple. We join them now as Dante, you feel the head sort of to your shoulder. And realize that Volu is unconscious.
We need to move. And I'm going to start running towards the temple.
Start jogging.
Okay, you run through the streets, catching the occasional attention of passers-by that sort of look a little confused as you move through the streets at speed before eventually coming to what Eleni knows is the main temple of Astera. And as you approach, you actually see Brother Theo that you met on the stairs on one of your first day in the city. Who at first
also at the weaving contest, wasn't he? Didn't we speak to him there? He came up to help.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. And he would be you would see him. He's sort of like arriving back at the temple. And at first he looks up and smiles, and but then almost like seeing the concerned looks on yourselves.
Help him!
What is wrong?
He's under attack. There's
something's happening.
Bring him in. And they'll sort of lead you in, but just not like into the inner sanctuary. They sort of clear a pew and put a pillow, one of the kneeling pillows down, and allow you to lay him. Have you seen him injured or attacked? They start looking him over.
Not recently. He was attacked a couple of days ago, but that had all healed.
They start to cast a cure wounds. And it works, and they sort of say that there is no damage.
He just seemed to get tired. He got more and more tired as he went. I'm going to look over to Eleni and be like, what happened in that weaving contest?
There was... The woman next to him fell to the ground spasming, as if she was having some kind of fit. And at the same time, the elderly people that you saw, they drew weapons and started heading to attack. Well, the woman didn't seem to do anything, but the man went to attack the politicians that were on the judges' stand. When I looked at them, when I looked at the woman who was down on the ground, the spasming one, Gertrude, I think it was, there was something wrong with her, and I could see that also on her tapestry. And I could also see it in the threads on Volu's tapestry, but he didn't seem to be affected by it.
And Eleni, as you're talking, Brother Theo turns over Volu's arm and rolls up the sleeve of his vest, of his overtop, and you see the black, like pulsing veins, the sort of purpley pulsing veins that you saw, the same on Gertrude. Brother Theo
would say that out loud. That's what I saw.
Brother Theo would say, we have studied and looked at Gertrude. It's the best we can tell. It is magical exertion, though all reports say that she is not a mage of any kind.
There was a fiend or something fiendish.
They would cast, and you would, Eleni, you would straight up recognize it. I'd say you don't need to roll, Dante. They cast detect magic. And immediately they're like, he's covered in some sort of purple black energy.
Can I do that as well, Liam, so I can see?
And as you look, can you give me an investigation?
Yeah.
Aid.
I would.
So I'm going. Okay, I'm going to allow it, but you don't know why for now. But I will allow it.
Investigation at advantage.
Yes.
22.
Okay, so Dante, you don't really know what you're looking for, but you sort of start like moving the cloak to the side and sort of like looking at the body and in his pockets. Eleni, you're looking over and you are seeing this dark purple energy sort of sort of coating their body. As Dante's sort of moving stuff around, so Dante, you sort of pull back a side cloak, and you get a whiff of that same sulfury smell. And Lenny, that for a second, the glow of magic is brighter from his inner pocket.
Is there something in his pocket?
And
Dante will go and just like go reach in
and Dante, as you pull back the left arm sleeve, there is, from when they were doing their weaving, there is just sort of like they had the sort of like different color threads, you know, like ready to go, and they're almost just looped loosely. The spare bits that were, you know, they'd use them for something else maybe or finishing up, but there's, you know, all the like a few red ones, you know, purple one, and Lenny again, the purple one is glowing.
I would tell people. I think this is what was glowing on his tapestry as well.
Dante, you go into his pocket, and so Eleni, you handed the spool over, didn't you? You gave that to the captain. I did. There are cuttings, and as you sort of pull them out, there's just the you know, inches, little bits of the thread and the sort of glittery dust that was on it in the pocket that is also.
Can I do any arcana on this? I mean, I know I can't detect it, so
you would need to. It would take some time, but yes, you would need to study it and see what it reacts with. And
if I'm looking at this with detect magic, and I don't know if I did this last week, but can I see what kind of magic it is?
We weren't able to last week because it took a minute.
Yeah, because it was all just happening.
But if we're now examining him and I'm seeing him,
you look over it, and I think this would be transmutation.
okay.
So do I?
No, no, probably more like conjuration. Sorry.
Okay.
Can I do any? If this is stuff like from fiendish magic, will I get my advantage on it?
Yes, so I will allow you to roll an arcana with advantage. Volu, as this is going on, can I get another charisma save, please?
25.
Okay, so and it is going to take you a minute, Dante, and obviously, so this is probably happening in the same time that Eleni and Brother Theo are sort of examining and getting the school of magic out of it. Dante, in that time, you sort of head over and you take out a few little things that it's more like almost like just tools that are going to let you take it apart and examine it a bit more closely. And as you sort of pull apart the bits of string, it's almost like there is some sort, and again, as you pull apart like if you imagine this is one piece of twine, but it's lots of threads that have been twisted together. As you pull apart the threads, you're just getting this burst of sulfur, pull apart the burst of sulfur. And there is material that's almost like black dust that pours out, and you think that this is enchanted. You think the actual string has been, the actual thread has been enchanted.
Enchanted or cursed?
Enchanted. I mean, it might function like a curse, but it's definitely been made with purpose.
And yet, Eleni can see transmutation and not enchanted.
Conjuration.
Oh.
So, but also don't forget, like all items are enchanted.
Oh,
It's
need to get my D&D hat on and not just.
My charisma save was 14.
Okay. For the others, what do you?
I would be looking at Brother Theo. I'd be telling him what I've seen and what I'm getting from it. I would have seen Dante took the string and the smell of sulfur.
He will start to cast maybe if it is fiendish, maybe it is some sort of possession, and he will cast protection versus good and evil.
Oh, goody.
That's not area, luckily for
Oh,
you.
thank
No,
you.
this is it. Ichi's thing is like, this is touch a person, and if you wouldn't actually know this, you're not able to do it. But if you cast this on someone who is currently possessed, it would normally expel that thing from the body. I actually imagine, Dante, that Ichi has explained to you that this would be the normal method of dealing with ghosts and possessions, but because of the binding spell that was half attempted or half successful, that interferes. And it's almost like the binding spell is more powerful than protect from. You're technically not possessed, if that makes sense. It's bound within you. So it doesn't function the same. However, they cast that and nothing seems to happen. It's like, not a possession then. Maybe a dispel magic, though I do not know it.
Is there any way we can shield him from external effects? If we remove all of this thread from him, and Gertrude shouldn't have hers on her anymore. I don't know if you've searched her.
Any of her materials were left on the stage, but they were confiscated, I believe, by the guard.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if this will work, but it worked for snapping people out of things. I'm just backhanding him.
Lovely.
Okay, yeah, yeah, exactly. No movement as no waking as the head just to the side.
1 point of damage for you.
Thanks.
Ta!
Actually, technically, you can't. Can you pull? Yeah, you are allowed to pull your punch, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's not just a set thing of like have 4 points of damage.
Yeah. Because we're going to be realistic about it. We can all give somebody a tap without putting them through an actual physical
no, that's fine.
But yeah, okay, so there's another 10 minutes pass as you're sort of thinking of things. Lenny and Brother Theo are talking it through. They're saying that they tell you that there is a few people that can cast Dispel Magic, but I know that they are not here right now. I can send word for them. And as you're talking, the magic stops. Volu doesn't wake, but his sleeping sort of becomes a little more rested.
Seeing that, I would take a deep breath and I would say to Theo, is there any way I can maybe speak to the High Priest? We visited with her a couple of days ago. There are some things that Volu's told me in the last couple of days, and I don't know if they're relevant. But she might have an idea.
Will she be able to help him?
Possibly.
Dante can't see magic.
They would say, well, now that it has subsided for now, but
Are you sure?
I mean, I don't see the energies anywhere. I will send a message to the High Priest. As I said, they were down. All the important figures of the city were down in the center for the announcements. Even though there was the attack, most of them have returned now for the ceremonies. But they will be back later. You are welcome. I will move. You can move them through to my quarters for now. My worry at the moment is I tried everything that I could think of in this manner. I mean, the string. Where did they get it? Where did it come from?
He bought it from a young girl. She was selling them in the tavern. In the Bloody Banner. When you and Ichi went upstairs, and I came to find you, I came back down and he'd He said that he would have bought it, but he wasn't sure where it had came from, and she ran away because she was scared. I think it was maybe stolen, and she thought he was gonna, hand her over to the guards.
I mean, if this was purely a trick of the fiends for their enjoyment, they can shape into many forms.
My main worry is what are they doing with their magic? And again, they'll turn their arm and show you that they're not pulsing or purple anymore, but you can see almost bruising up the lines of weave that run through Volu's body. Almost like, and Dante, again, you've not ever seen this. Actually, I think the place you might have seen it is on yourself, and it is actually happens when you are forced to use. So you have had times where you have been forced to use Tenebris's maximum power, and your body is almost unable to take it. And it's almost like that, you've lifted something too heavy, but with their magical strength. For Gertrude, we have surmised that the fits that they were having was because they are not a magic user. They essentially were pulling mana and draining them dry. Obviously, Volu has magic, so the effects might have been running all day. What I am worried about what they're doing with this. I will definitely contact the high priest, but if it is okay, I will also contact the guard to come and speak with us if we think it is connected. Or
I think we have to assume it's connected. But why? I think I had assumed that the attack on the tapestries and the weavers were actually a distraction for the attack on the politicians.
maybe maybe the magic is experimental or not done by somebody who's fully versed, and maybe they were not intended for it to continue. Volu, you wake up like that sort of the night after the morning after an extremely heavy night. Your head is pounding. You're not sure where you are, and you're just looking up at like an almost spinning ceiling.
So imagine Liam's birthday.
I'd wake and kind of be murmuring a little bit and be like, the kind of the hum that I was doing underneath the tree, and just kind of composing. And what happened?
You fainted, Volu. Whatever got Gertrude got you too. And
What's this?
I wondered where that girl got that from. I wonder if she is okay.
She may have been a monster herself.
I think we need you to rest. I'm going to see if we can see the high priest while we're here.
I think I agree, and then kind of drift and just close my eyes and continue just letting out little hums every now and then.
Okay. So you would be able to get at least a short rest if you want to tick that off.
Hey,
Or-
my
or
bow is no
that's
longer on
good.
fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do forget that that's a thing. Flaming weapon on you.
Do
I
I get
imagine
things
that it
back
just
anyway, though?
glows. I don't know if you do, but you are
Well-
able to take a short rest. A few hours later, you would hear the the doors of the Aether Stream cloud coach opening and the stepping out of feet, and eventually brought to Brother Theo's room is. I'm going to pause a second there. What is the high priest's name?
You're asking me, and I think that's in session 6 that I haven't got the notes for.
Lethandril.
No, because I've named them already, I think.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
There was the floral Grundon.
What have I got here? Who's Quain?
Don't know.
Wayne was the
Oh, Gwaine. Wasn't that the gnome?
the salesperson for the clothes stuff.
So it's after that.
Hang on. So maybe it's earlier.
It's like session
It's
2
much
or
earlier.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hang on. I've got.
I always say, like, you should be proud
High
of me.
Priest Arcaner.
Arcaner, hang on.
Is that right?
It's too small. Hang on, I'm trying to read this with my.
No, that's
Yes,
not
it is.
right.
Arcaner. I've got Arcenair.
Yeah. They were an old dwarf.
I've actually
Yeah.
taken a couple of notes down in on D&D Beyond, just allies and enemies and where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously so. That's where I, as a player, that's in notes is where I often make most of my actual notes.
Just to say that the wooden bracelet that Arcaner gave to Volu, he then gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a symbol of Astera on it. I don't think I've added that to my character sheet, and I don't know if it does anything.
No, it's just it's
the
but
wooden-
it's what all the priests wear.
Okay, I would put that back on his wrist though,
Okay.
just in case. You never know.
Okay.
But yeah, Arcaner.
But eventually, yes, High Priest Arcaner would be would come to the room and knock on gently. They would, as you open the door, they would say, "How is Volu? Brother Theo has updated me on what has been going on."
I'm very worried about him. There are some things that he's told us in the last couple of days that I felt that I should share with you after our last conversation.
They motion. They would send for somebody to bring tea and a snack, and they would motion for you to leave Volu sort of resting and sleeping. Although at Volu, if you think you would hear them, and because it's almost that it's too early to sleep, even though you're drifting in and out of paying attention more than you're drifting in and out of actual sleep now. They would sort of say, "Do you want to? Would you like to rest, Volu, or should we leave you to rest and head to my chambers, or are we fine to talk in here?"
I can stand.
Stay
Okay.
lying
We'll
down.
kind of-
We can stay in here.
Yes, we can stay in here. If you were sleeping, I thought we should take the talking away.
I'm
No,
just
it's okay.
I'm going to look over at Volu and be like, "Would you like me to leave the room?"
That actually might be wise.
Thank you, Dante.
Dante just leaves. I will be right outside the door. Don't worry. I can't hear for shit.
Okay.
Volu he's talked about having dreams, and he's talking about purple and red pustules, like a fungus covering buildings and people. We were walking through the city, and he suddenly stopped and said he'd seen a vision of the same thing, but almost as if all the buildings were destroyed and this purple covered everything. the fact that he's been talking about purple and that this is purple and that it seems like some kind of disease into the people, I don't know how that connects with what we said about Astera and about her being ill.
All the trees, they're gone. Just withered into ash.
They sit and they listen and they're quiet for a while. They say, I believe Volu is likely experiencing visions. I have had a few restless nights myself. I keep dreaming about a fire that almost like a warm hearth that I need to get around, but the cold, and I can't get near the fire. And I have not seen what you have seen, though. This is worrying, to be sure.
Could part of the reason for Astera being ill, could it actually be an attack by something fiendish rather than just neglect?
I have been communing with the sorry. I have been communing back with our brothers and sisters on the Sacred Isles. We are seeing aggression from multiple different members of the planes. Different creatures are more hostile than usual. I am more worried that I do not think it is caused by them, although almost the other way around. I'm not sure. But the priests in the Sacred Isles have noticed things wrong with Astera in a much wider sense. And they do firmly believe that we have been seeing this decline for many, many years since the devastation caused by Laritza.
Then maybe they're taking advantage of her weakness.
Maybe.
In the meantime, what can we do for Gertrude as well as Volu?
Well, Gertrude is currently at home resting. We have healed them. They have been awake and spoke to us. They don't seem to be having any ongoing effects. However, they were cleared of all their thread. Like Brother Theo said, what if the thread is not targeting one person? What if the thread is just you and Brother Theo mentioned conjuration. It is true conjuration could be bringing stuff here, but it is also sending stuff away. The act of transporting something through space.
Like stealing someone's magic?
Potentially. And, well, I mean, imagine if this thread was weaved into multiple people's clothing. Maybe it is not that they are targeting Volu, but simply anybody in contact with the thread.
Possibly.
We need to speak to the guard. Maybe I will. They call in one of their attendants and says, please put out a message to all the priests to keep an eye out for those who are experiencing exhaustion due to overuse of magic. Check for bruising in the wrists, and also let's be using detect magic as if we have anybody that's suffering from these sorts of things. Unfortunately, if it is that it is random, unless we can find out where the threads came from, I only really think we maybe whilst it is active, we would be able to follow it. Now, I am not considering somebody actually holds the thread, but maybe if we isolate the thread, put it in a lead box or something as such, and are able to check on it. I don't know, that is an arduous task, but I'm wondering if we can follow the flow of magic.
I mean, obviously, we've removed all the thread from Volu.
And Brother Theo said that Volu got theirs from a child.
I saw her. She was young, teenage maybe, halfling. I saw her.
In the Bloody Banner. I know Dante said that she could be a fiend, but
She could be disguised, even if she's not a fiend. She could.
it
Somebody
was
looking
it
like
was
that.
more she was scared of being caught of stealing than being found out of not being who she is.
Maybe if they are not something in disguise, then maybe they simply have been stealing threads from
Volu,
the weavers in town.
What made you think that she had stolen the thread?
I simply asked where she got it from, and she stumbled, and all I did was look at her and gave her a wry smile, and
You would also remember, Volu, as you're sort of saying this, it comes to you that there was the spool that the thread was round was homemade. It wasn't like it wasn't like you're off the shelf.
You said there was like a weaver's mark.
There was a wheat, yeah.
There was like a signature almost on the actual spool as well.
And then I asked her, what is this? And there was a mark, and that is when she blushed and simply ran away.
Maybe if we could find out what that mark was, we could look on the spool that Gertrude had and see if they match.
You did tell me. You did tell me what the symbol was. Was it like an N? I can't find my notes from that session.
I don't make the notes. I say things.
Right, hang on. I've just got that there's a weaver's mark on the spool. I haven't said what the mark is.
I would say that Volu.
What was the symbol that was a circle with like a eye?
The little circle with the little circle is the symbol of Astera and the Andonite religion. I would say though, Volu, you would easily be able to draw out the symbol that you saw.
Yeah, okay.
And so they would look over the symbol. It's like, it does not belong to any of the larger weavers, but maybe we could show it to Gertrude. Maybe it is one of. I will let me summon the guard. I will in my message also ask if they can bring Gertrude's supplies. They confiscated them to look at anyway. We should determine how many of these spools that she had. Is it every piece of thread, or is it just this
I
style.
think they also need to confiscate the actual tapestries, the works, because if they've got the thread in and anyone touches it,
They raise an eyebrow. I did not. You used the thread during the tapestry.
they both used the thread in the tapestries. That it was in the middle of the competition.
That will be the connector. That there is old magics that it relies on emotion and acts of you see it with some of the storytellers and the great bards that can evoke magics through their words. I think yes, we do need to see those pieces, and potentially they are the connection that might be what could break the hold on Volu, or even be something that we could follow potentially. They will not like leave. They sort of just sort of turn to one side, and they cast a set descending, and you would hear them sort of say, please, could we have a sergeant to the Temple of Astera? We have some more information about the attack at the Weavers contest. We also need the entries for the Weavers contest brought to, or at least taken in. And sort of it gets to the end of the words, and they pause for a moment. They are they're going to send someone over.
I only used a small amount to show Dante his scars. I was going to set that alight with it. What's it called? With my continual flame. It was to show Dante it as this hero of the story, and now it's just been poisoned.
They bow their head and they say, unfortunately, this is the way of fiends. They worm their way into our desires and our passions and take them for their own use. Not everything you encounter will be this way. Bless you.
Thank you.
Do not be discouraged from your craft.
Kind of brushes his face as clear his eyes that are welling up. Go. How long? How long until the guards?
We have maybe. I mean, if they need to go and get the prizes and such, we might have an hour or so. I mean, I imagine the guard to talk to us will probably arrive sooner.
Perhaps you should just try to rest in between, Volu.
Yeah.
We can stay here, and me and Dante will be very close by.
If there is anything that I can, if you have any questions or any healing, I can provide you with lesser restoration or even greater restoration, so that you do not feel as exhausted.
I would appreciate anything you have to help.
They will cast a spell, and as they do, you feel some of the tiredness fade. And it's like you hadn't taken any damage, but it's that same,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, the 1 point. You do heal that, but you know that just that feeling after you've done a crazy long journey, and you just feel that heaviness lift, and you do feel a little bit better. You're still completely tapped of mana and energy, but you do at least feel less tired. And there is they bring over a small tray of sandwiches.
I would sort of stand up and say, can we invite Dante back in?
Yeah.
And I would call Dante in.
Okay. You call out to Dante.
I would actually go to the door, Liam, and sort of beckon to him if I can see him. And if as he gets to the door, I would sort of very quietly say,
Well, once so, as you go to the door to beckon them, there's no one stood outside the door.
okay. Can I
Dante?
head into the corridor and just...
Yeah, you head out. You move out into the main bit, and you can see the floral groomed on, sort of setting up some things and preparing as they look over and say, "Oh, everything well, my dear?"
Did our friend come through here? He has long curly red hair.
Yes, a little while ago, they said they were just going out to look into something.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll turn and I'll go back.
And pausing as Eleni heads back, we come to Dante. As you suddenly open your eyes, as if you drifted off, and you're standing in an alleyway you don't recognize. You're definitely still in Cadfessi, just from the colours and build. You sort of can see that same. You've sort of got used to it from being in the city, but that almost weird, grown out of the ground look that all of the buildings in Cadfessi have. You've not been here specifically. Give me a survival to see if you can sort of determine where you are.
Remember if this is something else. Oh, okay. Natural 20
Ooh.
Okay.
with a +2.
So, looking around, so you sort of take a look and a glance at the peaks that straddle either side of the actual city of Cadfessi, and you are very, very close to one of the peaks, to one of the actual sides of the mountain. You're then sort of looking around, and you can see that there's city up above you, so you're definitely not in the bastion. You know what I mean? There's like, you can see, and as you look over, you see the obsidian stone steps that lead up, and you can determine that you are in the far northwest of the upper Forge Ward.
I'll check myself.
I was going to you check yourself over, everything's there. I was going to actually say to roll our advantage, but with the nat 20, it doesn't really matter. As you're patting yourself down, I mean, you've got your pouch, you've got your weapon, and all of a sudden there's a deep whiff of sulfur just on the air around you, and you're looking around and you don't see anything. And as you put your hand to your blade, the familiar voice in your head just says, "Fiends are bad for business for everyone." And then the voice goes quiet again. With the nat 20, you almost take a look around and you begin to see almost dark black. It's like dark black, but with an almost oil shimmer.
I'm checking my blade.
Checking your blade, sorry. You pull it out.
Yeah, I'll pull it out and then I'm checking, like, has it been used? Like, is it dirty?
Doesn't look like it's doesn't look like it's been used, and there's no signs of like the same sort of blood or anything like that. But you you take a look and almost like it's not a handprint, but almost smudged down the corner of that wall. But also as you're looking, it's like 10 foot up. But you're with the nat 20, you very quickly something flying. So it's almost like something flying rested a hand and slid a bit and then pushed off that, like just up there, like almost at like where the adornings hang and such. Like maybe they landed on that edge and then pushed off, but something fiendish and injured moved through here, and they were heading that way further towards the cliff side.
Is it possible for me to track it, or is it up in the air, so I can't really?
With the nat 20, yes. And now that you know what you're looking for, you start to keep your eyes more upwards. And normally you're looking for scuffs and dirt of that sense, but you're actually now looking for torn down adornings, little rips in the things that hang up above the doors and the windows. And you sort of at points even taking a look higher up onto ledges and such.
Is it kind of like, because obviously I know a lot of stuff is kind of built into the rock or stuff like that. Roof kind of styles. Are we talking flat roofs like you get in like Middle East, or are we talking like?
So the residential buildings that are up in like the more extravagant buildings, so some of the buildings down in the Crucible and some of the buildings in the Mythic and the Zenith are spire-like tower buildings. However, the Forge Ward is predominantly flat roofs. And actually, as you're following, you're sort of seeing that they move across an area that they sort of pass over an open area, and you sort of like you lose sign of any sort of actual tracks anymore. But you do notice there is a 3-story building over to the left with a ladder up the back, like a fixed permanent ladder that you would be able to climb up. And
So okay, I'll go up. I'm not making anything sneaky. It's very much I'm running around, like looking at things and moving, kind of like, because I want to see if I can find the thing that my matey seemed to have dealings with one way or another.
Well, so I think you get they definitely haven't had dealings, but there is a dislike for sure.
It's irrelevant to me whether they've just gone to try to kill each other, or that's just what he's saying and he's actually making a deal with him. I don't actually give a shit.
Okay, so you would be able to climb up and get a more bird's eye view. Can you give me a perception? And does your advantage versus fiends apply to perception as well as survival?
It does.
Okay, perfect. So you still have your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming because I do have advantage on perception, so I'm assuming that's the reason. Just having a quick check.
I would assume so. It's usually pretty bob on for those.
Okay. No, 11.
Okay, so you're looking around and you're not seeing anything flying. You're not seeing any more signs of the black oily liquid. You would definitely confirm your suspicions about where you were in the city. Now that you're sort of higher up, you can see the obsidian steps. You can see the section of the road that heads up to the Mythic Ward in the distance. So you get up to this rooftop and you look around. You're not seeing any more signs, but it definitely came to this area. I'd say just running off the nat 20, you know that it is like one of these 4 buildings around a square, not including obviously the one you're stood on. But it's got to be this area. There's no other place where it landed and continued.
Even if it takes me, say, like the rest of the night, I'll see if I can try to. Or rest of the night, it's only probably about 4 p.m.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 p.m. It's not late.
So I will. Can I attempt to try to search each one of these buildings, or like top of the buildings, or whatever?
Okay, give me an investigation with advantage. And as you do that, I am going to flick back over to Eleni as they are returning to the room. Just message it to me and I will continue yours. Because it will take a good chunk of time for you to search all these buildings. But Eleni, you...
Yeah, I would just head back into the room and say, he's just nipped out to take a look at something. Maybe get some food and let's wait here for him. We need to speak to the guards anyway when they arrive.
Food would be good.
The Brother Theo would... I will get some food prepared and leave you to rest a little bit and you can talk. I'm sure you've had a lot to deal with today. And they will leave and sort of leave you and Volu and Eleni alone in the room for a moment.
I'm sorry if I told Arcanair your business without asking you first, but I thought it might help.
It's okay. We all spoke about what's happening with Astera and that we all feel that we need to do something, and if this helps us find out what is causing it, then it's a step in the right direction.
I just felt that we could trust her.
Do you think that girl was a fiend?
I mean, she didn't look like a fiend, but I've seen people disguise themselves as other things before. It could be hard to tell if you weren't up close.
She just seemed so frightened. I'm not the most.
Maybe she didn't know what the thread was. Maybe she's working for a fiend and doesn't know it.
I just have an image of a little girl in pain in the streets, and it doesn't sit right with me. I almost want to go and see if we can find her.
Do we have any way of doing that? I mean, if we manage to get the spool without the thread, maybe
could we
could
locate?
I don't know. I don't have the same sort of magic as you. I don't know if we'd be able to track her that way. Did she sell thread to anybody else that you saw?
Thinking back on it, no one was that interested.
Yeah, no.
It was very much an odd moment of like she's trying to sell thread to like a room full of people drinking beer. Like it wasn't like
I mean, did she seem to target you particularly, or did you feel that she would have?
I started the conversation with her.
Right. Then maybe we should try and find her. We've seen. Just thinking, I mean, she was a teenager, wasn't she?
Maybe just younger, but around that age.
It was like 10 or
10, 11.
Was she human? I can't remember.
Halfling, I thought.
Halfling.
Yeah. So 10, 11. Like it's pretty much
I mean, maybe we could ask some of the other kids. We've seen groups of kids around.
That's a good start. I'd like to know that she's safe.
Yeah.
Okay. After a while, the guards would turn up. The first set of guards that turn up inform you that the pieces, the items are being collected. They will just take a little bit more time as they are still down. They're not on the stage, but they're like with all the festival stuff down in the Crucible. But they will have those brought up. They would question you a bit more about the threads and how it was used and you know like what you think is going on there. 4 or 5 minutes after that, a mage would turn up from the Azure Spire Academy. they would you can see that they don't work for the guard, but they sort of turn up and sort of say the guard requested a mage for some analyzing, I believe, and they will sort of say yes, we called you, and you can tell that it's like it's not that the mages work for, but they clearly have a relationship where if the guards encounter something that they are not magically prepped for, they can ask for a mage to come down and have a look. They would actually start trying to cast Identify if you hand over the string and sort of let them look at it and see it. Around obviously that takes them a little bit of time. For the most part, the guards just sort of they asked you the initial questions and got the story from you again as I won't make you guys repeat it, but Lenny and Volu have had to sort of repeat what happened again, and they take notes. But then after that, they are very much sort of you can tell that this is that it's not within their wheelhouse really, but also that it's not like they have plans for when it's not their wheelhouse. It's not like they're not sat there twiddling the thumbs. They're like, oh, we'll be on guard. We'll stay here and make sure nothing happens. But our arcane expert is looking into it. We need to wait for them to finish, etc.
Yeah.
It seems orderly, but not like they can do a lot in this moment. After the time, the mage would say, it is definitely a conjuration. They are almost certainly siphoning the mana from whoever is in contact with this thread. Interestingly, there was how was your magic acting when you were while it was happening?
It was almost like it was casting when I didn't want it to, and when I did, it just wouldn't work.
And all your spells didn't work?
The only thing I could do is just a few wind chimes, but if I tried to help anybody or do anything else, it just didn't seem to.
I am not entirely versed in your style of magic. However, there's almost I believe that they are actually casting a spell using your magic. So it would make sense to me that the spells that would not work are those that require concentration. That extra effort. So they are almost forcing you to concentrate on their spell.
That may explain why.
However, you said that you drained pretty constantly. I do not think there are many people under the effect of whatever, or that the spell is very large. As if it was a much larger spell, you should have drained within an hour or 30 minutes or so. Think about when we fight, and if you fight or compete, how long can you continually cast spells for?
But was it continuous Volu, or was it because it seemed like you would be fine and then all of a sudden you would be very tired and then you would be fine again and then all of a sudden you were very even more tired. Was it that it was coming in waves or was it constant?
There was a constant unease, but it was, as I was saying, like when I didn't want anything to be cast, or I was just in the middle of finding some information or listening to a story, they would be these pulses of almost like go through my entire body, and the visions, and they all felt the same. It was almost like they they were using me.
I do believe so, although I do worry that they were taking more than it seems. there is definitely more investigation needs to be done here. As they're sort of finishing up talking about it and stuff, the High Priest Arcanair would again come to the door, and you would see that there is Sir Volkov and two guards that you didn't speak to them, but you recognize two of the guards that had sort of helped during the incident. They are carrying there's almost like two pairs carrying a tapestry each. They have tried as Priest Arcanair comes in and they say they have brought the tapestries. We will not bring them into your room as such, but they've tried to bring them still attached to the frames as a sort of they're sort of trussed up into frames while you stitch them. They've tried not to disturb the cloth as best as possible. The mage is immediately like up and is like, if you wish to come and examine, but I must look and identify once again to confirm. And they move through and start looking again at that. Eleni, do you think you would want to go and look yourself? Or I know you can only detect magic.
I don't know if I'd be able to see very much. And I think I'd probably stay with Volu because I would trust them to come back and tell us whatever they find.
Yeah, and they do. About 10 minutes later, they would return. They would say, right, I do believe that we can disconnect this. There is definitely a link. It confirms my suspicions. The magic in the thread is almost dormant until it is crafted with, used to create something specifically. So as it's in its base state, it is almost a channeling. It is capable of channeling magic and those sorts of things. It would do well for crafting magical items, but once crafted, it appears there is almost a curse-like effect that allows the original creator to hijack into the magic of the thread. I believe that we can disconnect it, but we will unfortunately have to not fully destroy, but at least the areas around where those threads were used will have to be cut out.
Surely they're going to move the competition. I mean,
in the past, these things have occasionally come down to all of the contestants getting a split of the prize or such. So maybe they might go that route, or maybe they will host it again. It would. I do not know, and I cannot say for now, but I do apologize. And is it okay if we begin removing those threads? Luckily for your piece, Volu, the thread. Oh, they would say Clovis. To be fair, sorry. You were in. It looks like you were in the midst of finishing that section. So, I think for yours, we could just carefully remove. We need to make sure that no threads or fibers from the actual thread is still in there. That is why for Gertrude's, unfortunately, I would only feel safe if we cut a good section around the insignia that they have weaved and ensured that all pieces of that thread are removed.
There is a big tear in mine, isn't there?
There is, and you were in the midst of doing that bit of thread when you felt the pulse and fell. So actually, it's almost like the thread is up at the top and then the tear comes down. But because of that, it has meant that basically the damage is already done. They can just sort of unstitch it, but they, as said, would want to be very, very careful with it.
If you could save as much as Dante in the picture as possible, I would be most grateful.
I will do my best, and I was going to ask, in fact, if you are feeling up to it, would you assist me? I know a lot about magic, but I do not know anything about weaving. It would be useful to be able to have someone who is proficient in the tools to.
Is it safe for him to touch?
Yes, I mean he is linked whether he touches it or not. It is the act of crafting, the part of the crafter they pour into their work. It's the link, the damage is done.
Okay.
Once we remove the threads, while I cast some dispels and remove curses, I believe we should be able to unlink you from the tapestry. But I do not, to be clear, I do not need your assistance. But the process would go a little faster if I had someone who's proficient in weaving.
I would kind of like stand up and go, let's go.
Okay, and you move through and begin the process of unpicking and undoing the magic that has been done to you. As we flick back over to Dante.
So just a quick thing. I just love out of with saying like with the magic coming in and them saying that all these types things. Thing that goes into Eleni's head is, oh, they're gonna have to change when they do this with the weaving contest.
No, what I meant was,
Not the weaving
what I meant
competition.
was, if they have to destroy the tapestry to unlink, it's okay because they'll get to do it again.
Yeah.
Thinking that Volu would be upset when his tapestry gets destroyed,
Right.
but it'd be okay because they'd redo the weaving contest and he'd be
Yeah.
able to redo the
Cool.
picture.
Okay, that was just I thought it sounded
It was
in
a
my
funny
head, just
moment.
like it was
Sorry.
just-
No,
No,
I was
it's
literally like,
No,
that's what
it
was in my head.
probably me only half listening, but it just made
I was on your wavelength.
Yeah.
So.
But no, so Dante, with the natural 20 on your investigation,
I'm pretty good at some things.
it does take you 20-30 minutes of like checking this building, checking that building, you check the outsides. It's less of that like you're struggling to find the things. It's more just you're having to check 3-story buildings for anything because you don't know exactly how or why they're getting in. There's points where you're having to almost scale the side of the building a bit and check bits. And finally, after about 20-30 minutes, on the third building around this square, so you determine first of all that the building itself is a residential apartment block. Almost as you're looking around, and at points people have come out and sort of looked at you funny, but not pressed to question. You know, like you got watched for maybe 10 minutes, but you're not destroying anything or doing anything necessarily bad. You just it's weird to walk out your front door and see a guy just like examining the ground and like looking at the wall structure and stuff. But you're not left alone for the most part. But on the roof of this 3-story apartment building is a trapdoor. And there've been trapdoors on the other buildings as well. It's not out of place. It's not uncommon. But as you're inspecting and getting closer, you bump your foot on the trapdoor, and it doesn't thud like wood. It feels like stepping on a cushion. And as you examine the trapdoor a little closely, it is woven into the building, almost like the threads piercing into the structure itself and attaching this woven trapdoor, down onto the top of this building. And as you look down on this, a voice in your head says, "Oh, they are very sneaky."
Get out of my head.
And as Dante finds this and the night begins to fall, the sun begins to set, that is where we are going to leave this week's session. Thank you very much for playing. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the content so far, hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out. Remember, if you get to the end but can't watch an episode when it comes out, we do have our podcast form out on nearly everywhere you can get good podcasts.
The best podcasts, really.
The best podcast.
You could say this is the best podcast that you will ever hear. And the only way you can find out if that's if I'm persuading or deceiving you, those are words, you have to find out. So give us a listen.
And if you're enjoying what's going on, feel free to comment along, follow us on social medias. But as always, roll well.